Hi, everyone. Welcome to Suddenly Solo Talk. I'm Mark Silbert. My partner here is Hal Spielman.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mark. Nice of you to show up.
Thank you. We're here to chat, entertain, and hopefully inform you. Perhaps you or someone you know who's recently solo, either by being widowed or divorced, and help you navigate this new challenge in life. You may find it's more up and exciting than you might have thought. By way of background, I worked in marketing, and I was president of a large international personnel agency, and sold that, and lived on the North Shore of Long Island for a while, started to take up golf, and that's where Hal's story intersected mine.
Am I supposed to tell you my story now?
In
a weak moment, I said, Mark, I'm really having some problems with being solo after my wife passed away. So I started doing some research, which is my field for 50 years of doing market research, mostly for very, very large world corporations. So I just stepped back and said, let's see how other people are coping with this. Well, the result of all that little thought was interviews with over 1,000 men and over 600 women with 7 different studies, and learned a lot. And then I said, well, what the heck am I going to do with this pile of data? And sitting on the golf cart one day, we started talking about it, and out of it came a book, a website, and now our electronic activities that we hope you'll find intriguing and interesting, as I've recently found on a trip down to Florida.
That's right. Hal was down to the what we call the ground zero of the activities that we look at. You know, statistically, we found as people age, Hal's older than I by about a quarter of a century. So, but ground zero, Florida, particularly southern Florida, because obviously it's tax and a thermal climate tend to attract people, and the demographic of single men to single women as you age skews remarkably. I mean, what is it down? Is it like 3 to 1, 4 to 1 now?
It's about 4 to 1, and more when you get down to that southern Florida area.
So the market for single guys is pretty pronounced.
You do not have to be a handsome devil to have a variety of young women, not so young, who are lined up bringing you casseroles. And of course, the magic ingredient is if you say you drive at night, whoa, then you're going to be really in demand.
So guys who really wait for daylight savings, right? Where there's an extra hour of daylight, they can, before you guys like you start to muscle in on the action.
Yeah, exactly. I drive at night when I have my driver with me.
Yeah, right. But the point of it is there's, even though Florida is a somewhat skewed demographic, the market for single guys, whether they're looking for romance, companionship, or any other sort of dialogue with a woman, is better.
Sometimes the dialogue is called sex, but that's another topic.
That's called dirty talking. It's not the same thing. But again, there's a lot to do for single people. Their lives don't end after divorce or being widowed. And even though Florida is an anomaly on almost every level you can think of, it represents a larger spectrum of the United States in general. So Hal's trip down there to bring it back was pretty remarkable. You first of all, you started to promote stuff.
Well, let me tell you how it went. I went to a meeting that was sponsored by the Delray Chamber of Commerce, and there were 200 single people there.
And was it balanced pretty much men and women?
Yes, very balanced. A lot more women than men, but a lot of men present. And it was the woman that was running this introduced the event by saying, "Welcome to Delray, the mature dating capital of the world." So it kind of gives you a hint of what the interests and the desires seem to be. And of course, we know from our research data that there is high interest in coupling, and that's what this was all about. But the whole event, the whole visit down there was interesting because we got this kind of press. um, in the Palm Beach Post, and another article in the Sun Sentinel, and then in this publication called Boomer Times, which is distributed by the Miami Herald as an insert once a month. And they did a book review, and we'll tell you about the book in a moment. And we were invited to do a monthly column for them, and we did. The first monthly column.
It was February, and now we're done. It was that month. They asked us to do a monthly column. It was 1 month, and that was the month we chose. So
well, this one is turned up in March. We already have 2 more being prepared or already prepared for April and May. But this first one got us into a topic that has come up in our twits and our
tweets. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about dating, what people expect, and the 3-letter word that almost always enters into the dating question. We'll talk about physical appearance. How important is that when you're out and about? We're going to take some phone calls. If anybody wants to send something by Twitter or even through the Facebook site, we're going to chat things up a little bit and see where it takes us. And in the meantime, if you people are interested, and hopefully you are, you can definitely get our book. It's available on Amazon.com. And definitely visit and definitely visit our website, which is
suddenlysolo.org.
www.suddenlysolo.org.
Interesting about our website, it changes constantly. It's a daily process. We add new material virtually every day. It has responses to people's questions.
Yeah, there's an Ask Hal section.
An Ask Hal. We touch on important topics and also do reminders. Like we did one on getting your flu shot. Seems so simple, but we wanted our people that come to our website to be reminded they should be getting their flu shot.
It's important. We feel that sometimes we as guys sort of pull back a little bit, and we have a tendency in physics, they tell you things to lowest energy and highest entropy, the state of disorganized. And I think that's a guys in a lot of cases. So a little general push from us, because frankly we need it as well, is part of the website and actually part of our whole philosophy.
We have available to us some experts that can help us answer questions, psychologists, legal people, medical people, financial planners, so that we can get you some pretty thought-out responses to the issues that you're dealing with that help you cope with being single. And they can be anywhere from getting yourself fed. We talk about malnutrition avoidance, and we talk about how do you avoid ptomaine when you put your leftovers in the refrigerator.
For extended period of times.
Right.
Yep.
When they're growing green stuff, it's time to get rid of it.
There was that line that you looked in the refrigerator and it's green. It's either very new cheese or very old meat. And I think you have to make a determination of what you got in there. It's going to be an interesting show, and I think probably we should segue, to use a radio word, logically, is into what you experienced down in Delray in South Florida, and the whole dating thing and what people are expecting and what we found out in our research.
Well, one of the first questions that we ran into was this issue of what we call 5-3. That is, from our research data, and we have piles of it, we found that when we asked men and women, how many dates do you have before you consider having sex with the person you're dating? There's an interesting discrepancy. Men say, well, after 3 dates. Women say after 5 dates. And, what happens in that little gap? The guy is saying, well, we went out 3 times and all I got is a peck on the cheek. I'm going to look elsewhere. She's saying, well, that's a very nice guy. I think I'd like to go out with him some more. Well, how do they bridge that gap? How do they get from the 5 to the 3? And we've got some suggestions that we think.
I think everybody should compromise. 4. Yeah! That's the number.
Well, 4.
Let's get all the uncertainty out of the way.
Getting that 4th date is the magic breakthrough, and it's compromise in both directions. So we've suggested things like when they're leaving on the 3rd date, she should say something like, oh, they've got that jazz concert going over in the community center on Thursday night. How about if I get some tickets for that? And of course, that's free. And then if she wants to add, and I'll cook dinner before. Wow, that's dynamite, home cooked meal. So that's one of the ways to bridge that gap. And it is an important gap because men can be very impatient, and patience is an important ingredient in establishing their a pattern of meeting and holding on to a woman that
Hal,
you like.
do you think, and I think statistically it actually turned up, there is such a thing as, I'll call it, lust at first sight? I mean, will a woman fall into bed with a guy on a first date?
Well, our data says yes.
And get me their phone numbers.
Yeah,
There are
2% of women who say they will bed you down on a first date if they are interested in doing so,
Okay, now
and in the right mood.
Now, how do we find these 2%? Because we'll take care of the 3-day thing very
Well, you got to
quickly.
go out. You got to go out with 100 women, and out of that 100 women, you're going to find two.
Well, can't you do 50 and hope one? I mean,
That's good statistics.
exactly. So if you get like a coupon book for a movie for 50 showings, you got a pretty good shot, right? I mean, right? That's
Yeah,
better
you got
than
a
I
pretty
did in
good
high
shot.
school. I can tell you
Yeah.
that right now.
However, if you do that, it's going to take you, if you date someone every night, a different woman every night,
Right.
it's going to take you a month and a half to get through.
Well-
and that's going to be a lot of expensive dinners.
Well, now let's be honest. At our age, the sure thing isn't the worst thing in the world to aspire to. I mean,
No, and in fact, there are other interesting things that we found. For example, let me find the exact number on this. I think it was 46% of women who said that they have gone to they've gone to the sack with a friend, a male friend, not someone they were dating on a regular basis, but just a male friend, just because they felt
well,
like
I
it.
remember that. I think it was like 35 or 30. It was a big number. Who said they just, that's that old expression, women need a reason, men need a place. I think there was shows that there is such a thing as friends with benefits.
Absolutely.
Even in our demographic, even our where basically women want the that sense of closeness,
right.
I guess.
But when we asked them, how important is sex to you? 52% of women said it's very or somewhat important.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. But
I'm curious, you have many men?
Yeah, 76% of men said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
why don't you try when you're 18 years old and see
Yeah, that's
how that breaks down?
That'll be 90-90.
Yeah, 90-10. No, it's a good thought. There's a lot of sexual tension, I think, even amongst the demographic that we are most interested in. Although it might not be the end game anymore, I think maybe even that tension is what makes things interesting.
Well, for a relationship to be maintained over a period of time, we asked how important is sex in maintaining a relationship, and sure enough, 66% of the women said it's very and somewhat important. 82% of the men say it is very important, somewhat or very important. So it is an important aspect in the total relationship. What we're finding, it's not generally the reason for a long-term relationship. It is part of the total relationship.
Yeah, it's a component
It's
of
a
a more
component, right.
maybe complete, if not
Yeah.
complicated relationship.
It's that 20 minutes, but what do you do in the other 23 and a half hours when you're with her?
What you're
It's
saying,
got to be a little more
Yeah.
depth than just a sexual
right?
activity.
It's more than it's friends with benefits, not so much friends with defibrillators.
Or vibrators.
Yeah,
That's another topic.
That's another topic.
Yeah, we'll get into
altogether.
that. Listen, we can do what the New York Times does, is investigate that whole area.
Yeah, what I like is the blue ribbon panel, and you'll notice that we're wearing blue today, so we could be that blue ribbon panel that's always impaneled. One of the things about dating that we mentioned in the book, and we can actually concentrate because again, guys can tend to go to that entropy thing, is how important is the visual part of it? What in terms of making connections, at least with women, and sometimes guys make great connections too. But when it comes to that dynamic, that sexual dynamic, what are women looking for, at least what we found out, what they say and what they and what they look at really. What's going on there?
We did some very, very interesting research in that area, and we did a rather unique study called eye tracking, and a company called Perception Research did it for us. They're the largest eye tracking company in the world, and they don't ask a question. What they do, using some very unique equipment, they can tell to the millisecond and precisely within half inch what the eyes focus on and how long they stay on that. And when we exposed mature men to visuals of mature women dressed in various ways, different hairdos, hair colors, we found that overwhelmingly their eyes automatically go to the women's eyes and to their face.
So the old the boobs for the door.
That's not the big boobs that are the attraction. It's the smile. It's the eyes. In fact, in one interview, I commented that we're finding that men are not moving to the BBB. What's BBB? Big boob blonde.
That's right.
And in fact, mature men seem to prefer brunettes.
It's still a B.
Blondes.
It's still a B.
Yeah, it's still a B, but it's a.
You can keep those towels you made.
Yeah,
with the initials on them. But if we're talking to women now, if they were looking to make a connection, smile, jewelry, maybe,
yes,
earrings, that kind of thing.
Nice earrings, things that will attract to the face. The men will scan the figure, but as we point out in the book, these are mature people. They're the 36, 24, 36. If it's around, is generally an enhanced figure that has been worked on, and the general figure of both men and women is really not that perfect. You've added a few pounds. She's added a few pounds. There are the scars and that are indicative of their growing up, their children, their
sure.
All the things that
I think we call it what we call the medals of experience.
The medals of experience,
yeah.
Exactly right. The medals of experience, and in fact, women, when we interviewed women to find out what they were looking for, appearance was only mentioned in about 8% of the cases.
But don't you think? I mean, it's the classic. What are you really interested in? Well, long walks on the beach, a fireside, and you go to the beach, and nobody's there. So I mean, it's what they say in the ad is one thing, but the reality.
Well, look, I don't think you should be going to the beach when the temperature's 32 degrees.
Well, again, we're talking Florida, where it's
in Florida, there are a lot more people on the beach, but that's not the trigger. It's the personality that seems to be key. And women are looking for personalities that are warm, that are honest. They're very concerned about integrity of the person. They are very concerned about sense of humor. And that's a very key element in what they are attracted to in a man. Over 50% of women mention that that personality is the warmth of personality, the sense of humor are key ingredients.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Hal, you've been there. You've done it. You're living it. I mean, let's be honest.
It's a daily activity.
When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Well, thank you.
But I'm sure there are people out there.
Let me give you some correctives then, if you're going to.
Too late. Well, Hal, now we're at the part of the show that I always like the best because you never know what's going to come in. And it's the Ask Hal segment. It's an outgrowth of what we have on the website, but now we can do it through Twitter. And we have some interesting questions for you here, Hal. Let's take a look at those. If you're game, I'm game.
Let's play the game.
Okay. There's a lot here. Let me, how about this one? This is John from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Hi, Hal. When I go to a singles bar, and we talk about this, I guess, I find that sometimes I'm a big hit, but sometimes I'm not. Is there a surefire way to gain interest?
Oh, yes, there is. It can be extraordinarily expensive or extraordinarily cheap. It depends on which way you are disposed. By being expensive, buy a Porsche. And if you want to be a little more conservative, just buy the lob that's the keychain. Why?
Oh, the key fob.
The
key
key fob.
fob.
That's the magic ingredient.
The $10 key fob?
A $10 key. Well, it's a Porsche, so it's probably be 15. But the thing we found, and we've actually had some feedback from men about this, is that if they put a key down, a key fob on their Ford or their Chevy, nothing happens. If they put their Porsche or Bentley key down,
Big action.
they get action.
But at our age, I'm only worried about like Packards and Hupmobiles and
Well,
Stanleys.
of course, I made a mistake in not keeping my Huffmobile in the garage, but I was finding it was very hard to find appropriate wood to feed the steam engine.
The steamer.
Yeah, the steamer.
Don't say wood on these shows, okay? Because that always brings up a whole other issue, and then very not. I got another one here, Hallie. This is interesting. From the Ground Zero, Miami Beach, Paul. I have a good friend who I've been seeing. Nothing romantic. She's just been there when I needed her. But I'm finding myself becoming more attracted to her. How do I get out of the friend zone? Or is it even possible to do it?
Wow, that is a really tough question.
I mean,
and it
can you
does
segue out of
happen.
it?
It does really happen. You have a female friend, and I remember in How Harry Met Sally. Harry
men and women
says,
be
"No,
friends."
there's no way that you can be friends." Well, of course, it took them about 10 years
to finally
get into the sack together. But it's not an easy thing to do. And also, you have to make a quick decision. Do you really want to do it? If you've got a lot of other ladies around, it's hard to have a really close friend that with a woman where you can talk without having the aura of sex and the heat involved hanging over your head. But sure, you can get around to doing it, but just recognize that that friend relationship will probably disappear once you've gone.
Sex ruins everything, or
it
makes it great.
Yeah, or it may be great, and it may lead into the really close friend relationship. And for many of us, that's really what we want. We'd like to have a really close friend that is both the talking partner, the sexual partner, the dating partner. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up in a matrimonial situation or living together, but knowing that you have someone that you can share with.
Mm-hmm.
And that sharing, again, from the research, that is the reason that most men and women give for wanting to have a coupled relationship. They want somebody they can share experiences
Well, that's
with.
funny because there's a question here that I think almost is nice. Lisa from Brooklyn. When I was growing up, a movie was the traditional first date. Is a movie a good first date at our age? Should he make a move? And the last part.
Is she sitting in the back row?
And are men only interested in sex even at our age? I mean, so it sort of segues nicely.
The interest in sex is not only driven by a male thing. Women are interested in sex too. And if I ruffle through some more of my papers, I can find the actual statistics on this. In fact, this is an interesting one. How do you think about? Do you think that mature single women are more interested in sex now than when they were young?
Okay.
And women are saying 42% of women. This is mature women, 55 and over, who are widowed or divorced. 42% say yes.
More interested now.
More interest in sex now than when they were young.
Are they more interested in trying to avoid it?
No, they want the action.
I mean, it is a topic.
And men, 51% of men say that women are also. Their experience is that these mature women are more interested in sex now than when they were younger.
Now, again, because maybe the demographics, that these guys are a more valued.
These are mature people. They are not concerned about pregnancies. They are
especially the guys.
Especially the guys. In fact, we have some research where 100% of men have never been pregnant.
Yeah, it's
absolutely foolproof.
It's a good bunch.
It's like the 100% of the golf ball that doesn't reach the hole will not go in. 100% never fails. But this aspect of enjoying life, and sex is part of the enjoyment of life, and so they do want to participate. They want the other experience. it's for many, both men and women, the only sexual partner they've had was
Their
the
spouse.
the spouse they had that they met when they were 18 years old at high school, at college, and they followed the traditional patterns. They dated a little bit. They met somebody. They got married because, in truth, at 40 years ago, that's how you got to have sex.
Their first movie, like Lisa, would have been like the Jazz Singer.
Yeah. I wonder how many people remember that. I remember it. Yeah.
Well, we got a ton of questions here. How we can go through them? Take us 6 days. But I think
the
those
website has answers to a lot of these
ask
questions.
Al, www.suddenlysolo.org.
Right.
And
the website is an onion. We keep adding stuff to this. This onion gets bigger and bigger. So just keep peeling it back. You'll find 20, 25 responses to just an Ask Hal.
It is like an onion.
Keep peeling it back.
It'll make you cry, and it smells bad. Anyway,
Mark, if you don't recognize, we're electronic. There's no smell-o-vision in this.
But I play for it's very tough. I need that stand-up crowd to invigorate me.
What's next?
We're running out of time, Hal, and we're coming into the part that I sort of like the best, which is I call the Hal's Toolbox segment, that we give one piece of advice for guys. I mean, concrete. They can take it away with them and use them. Duct tape solves everything, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think troubles our guys and actually gets them sick the most is the kitchen. I mean, a lot of guys are just totally unfamiliar with, basic kitchen etiquette, for lack of a better word, and particularly when they're suddenly solo, where people are coming in and they're just, like you said, lining up with meatloaf. It's a dangerous time because there's a lot of foodstuffs attached to it.
Well,
so
the magic ingredient is a marker pen.
It adds taste to otherwise.
Well, Mark, you don't have to eat it. It's just a way of keeping track. So as soon as that comes in, write down the date and the time and maybe who gave it to you or where you got it. Because if she's a good cook, you may want to get back to her. So
you mean like the leftovers where you're like,
on the leftovers and
so when you're packing them up and putting them in the fridge.
Right, and there are a lot of little things you can discover about the way somebody delivers food to you. For example, we had there was a woman I know that brought me eggplant parmesan, one of my all-time favorite dishes. But she didn't just bring me a casserole. She brought me 4 containers of eggplant parmesan, each one meal size.
Well, she had 4 meals.
I had 4 meals. I could freeze 3. And I must say my reaction to this was, wow, this is a really intelligent woman. And then when I found that the eggplant parmesan was delicious, I made a point of calling her and meeting her for dinner.
She also could have been a Tupperware salesperson.
That's true also, but there were no.
So you're saying you should mark each so you know if it's a month old or
know what you got. If you got a leftover from a nice restaurant that you were at and you couldn't finish the 4-course meal, bring it and you brought it home. Mark where it came from and the date, and then the same with the casserole ladies. Mark when you got it, who gave it to you, and of course you may want to freeze some. So it may be a month or so before you get around to it.
Right.
But you'll know where you got it and who did the preparation.
It's good advice.
And it opens the get to the mail through
his stomach. It still works, huh?
It still works.
Okay.
Believe me, it still works.
That's good to know.
And of course, the magic for a woman is, I'm going to make dinner for you one night. Wow, a home-cooked meal. And after you've been eating out every night for 3 weeks, the promise of a home-cooked meal is a magic way to get you to come over.
I don't remember that.
What happens next?
Never got one.
Who knows?
Well, it's been a great one, Hal. It's been a terrific couple of minutes here. I think we really want to remind all our Suddenly Solos out there. Definitely like us on Facebook. You can see us at Suddenly Solo. Visit our website, www.suddenlysolo.org. And definitely look at our book on Amazon.com. It's available there and through the website. There's a lot of information that we barely touched on here. But before we go, we want to leave you with our usual hint of the day.
Hint of the day.
It's coming right from the book.
Yeah. How's this one? Page 107. Don't be a topper. What the heck's a topper? Well, she says she has a Toyota. You say, I got a Mercedes. She says that she's a golfer. You say, I'm the club champion. She says that I've been to Italy and I met the new Pope. You say, not only did I meet the new Pope, but we had breakfast together. That's a topper.
Yeah.
And it is a sure way to discourage a continuing relationship. So pack it away, guys. Don't be a topper, and have a lot of fun while you're out there.
All right, you suddenly solos, get out there and do it.